Okay, we're in Replit. We're going to use the Python language, and we're going to use a conditional statement. Let me quickly take a look at their. That was. Oh, they don't have one. That's okay. We're going to build our own, okay? So conditional statements use the term if. In other words, it's saying if something happens, then carry out this process, okay? So we use the word if, and we'll say if a variable, we'll call it x, is maybe less than a value, we'll say 10, and we'll put our colon in, and we keep it tabbed. We want this to carry out an action. So we'll say print hello, and I gotta put that in brackets and in quotations. Okay, so it's gonna print the word hello. Okay, now if you notice, if I run this program, nothing happens. In fact, it gives me a flaw here. It says x is not defined. Oh yeah, I need to give x a value. Okay, so to start, I'm gonna give it a variable value, and I'm gonna say x is equal to the value of 9. So we go to run this program, and it says hello. So the program defined x as being the value of 9, which is less than 10, so it printed hello. But if x was the value of 10, and I run the program, nothing happens. And that's because I assigned the value, and the only process that the program was supposed to do was read this, and it turns out x wasn't less than 10, so it didn't do it. Okay, so maybe I want this to do more. If it's less than 10, do something, but maybe if it's greater than 10, I want it to do something else. So there's an if-else application. So we'll say else, okay, else colon print goodbye. Okay, here we go. So if we take a look, we're going to try to think through this first. X is currently greater than 10. So it should read this, skip this step, and actually only print the word goodbye. So I go to run this. Oh, it didn't like goodbye. Oh, I put a capital letter for print, and that's not part of the application. There we go. So I defined x as the number 10. It checked the conditional statement if x is less than 10, well, it's not. So I'm just going to skip this step, and it says else. So if it's any other value that's not less than 10, print this. Okay, but maybe I wanted to do multiple things, not just one or the other. I can add in another step called else if. Now in Python, we just write ELIF for this concept, okay? And it has to have a condition too. Else if x is, let's say, equal to, and to check equals to in Python, we actually use two equal signs. I'm going to say colon, and we're going to also print some other value. We'll say print, and we'll call it a string, x is equal to 10. Okay, so now I have essentially 3 different steps in here. I have the definition of the variable. So I've defined the variable as the number 10, and it checks my conditional statement. If x is less than 10, do this. If x is equal to 10, do this. Else, if it's something else, or in other words, greater than 10, carry out the last step. Now in our case, we're going to get the very middle thing. X is equal to 10. Oh yeah, it is, right? That worked out great. But let's change this variable back to, let's say, the number 1. When we go to run it, it says hello. It gets to this step here, runs the program. Great. And let's give it the number 11 instead. And when we do that, it skips the first 2 steps and just prints out the idea of goodbye. So this is a conditional statement. We're setting up the computer to read something and do something depending on the value of an integer, but we can have it dependent on many different things. We're creating conditions for the computer to carry out different steps depending on a specific parameter. Okay?